The scientific term is Bomag RS950 soil stabilizer / asphalt recycler, and the weight is 70,500 pounds. But when I got loaded, I knew that it would be heavier, right? So 70 plus 47, like roughly, and that's why I moved my fifth wheel all the way to the front so that it's on this axle, the middle, right? And I dropped my pusher axle, and I had the scale right there. And because they said, you know, don't put your chains, all your chains on, because maybe we need to move it. And the way they put it on, the guy just drove it on. The way they put it on, I see like basically touching the ramps over here, which provides additional support. But that's the weights on my drives, on my steers. 10880, that's the drives in pounds. 50,780 on the drives plus the pusher, and 55,140 on the trailer. And that's my gross, 116,800. So the Mac is working hard this trip, and it's 11 feet wide, but it's legal height. And my empty weight is 47,400. But I remember that when I was doing that calculation, I had a big breakfast, and this time I only had a protein bar and coffee. So, you know, to be scientific about it, you gotta subtract. So I subtracted 20 pounds. So assuming my empty weight is 47,380, that's the weight of this machine. 69,420 pounds, or 31.5 metric tons. And see, this thing has huge tires, and there's no axles. Like each wheel has its own independent connection, right? And it's all hydraulic. And the main part of this machine is this middle thing. It goes up and down, like this part, right, where you see these kind of like rails. And at the bottom here, it has these nozzles, and they were careful to you know, lift them just a little bit so that they don't touch the deck. And I'm pretty sure it basically emits a high pressure stream of water. And the guy said this machine can dig basically, or it can leave a hole like pretty much like this, like more than a foot. It can go deep down. And believe it or not, and I'm not lying, this thing has a Caterpillar engine. And that's why it's called what was the make again? RS950, because the horsepower that this engine develops, and I swear to God, I'm not lying, 950 horsepower. 950. My truck has only 505, right? And I'm hauling this, but of course, and I asked the guy, I said, why does it need so much horsepower? And he said it's because of this unit, because it needs to be digging. This operation requires lots of power, you know. So, and so I'm going to Canada, and these are built right there in Oklahoma City. And the guy said they've been selling a lot of these to rich folks in Canada, because of course we don't have as many rich people, or people for that matter, like US, but we do have rich people. And this machine, some of them even buy like 2 at a time. This makes a perfect revenge tool. And what they do is, the first thing they do is they paint it all black. So this all gonna be gone. By the way, check out the color. The color is pretty much the same as my trailer. So they paint it all black, and and they install extra mufflers on the exhaust over there to make it quiet. Okay, and let me show you what it looks like on the top. If I can climb with my camera. So the operator sits pretty high over here. Lots of room. So all the gauges are here. Whole bunch of buttons over here. I guess the engine and the hydraulic fluid. That's the muffler. Yeah, this thing opens. We just locked it, but this will open. This thing opens, and there's a steering wheel in here. And you see it has all kinds of little gauges that show you how deep you're going, I think, right? So, but yeah, so why this makes a perfect revenge tool? Oh, and there's a guy next to me with a Pitts lowboy. Actually, that's another brand I was looking at, by the way, because they're pretty cheap. But they use 80K steel. My trailer is stronger, especially now after they added the... Oh, actually, this guy also has this. He has the 4th axle support, which means that the rear is reinforced as well. So he has a big dozer, which looks like a military dozer. But anyway, so yeah, so why the rich folks are buying this is so after it's painted all black and the mufflers are made pretty much like noiseless, they hire, like I talked to one guy, just bought him a drink and he just spilled his whole secret tactic to me, and they hire a private investigator and they get the home addresses of all their enemies. And of course, everybody has enemies, and rich people more so than regular people. And then he has, usually they do it in the summer, like that's why I'm hauling it now, in May, end of May. So they hire, a school kid, one of those science types with glasses and lots of acme, but these guys are very smart. And they give him a crash course on this machine, and he gives them a list of the home addresses, and he sends them out, maybe with a supervisor, and you cannot see them at night, right, because they're black. You cannot hear them because the mufflers are all silent. It's like one of those B-1 bombers. And once this thing goes on the ground, half an hour, and that's it, the payment is gone. And so they send the school kid, and he basically goes through a drive-through, the drives of homes of his enemies, and he just removes all asphalt, And then the guy wakes up in the morning, gets into his car, and he cannot drive because there's like a 1 foot deep trough in the dirt, Bomag. So that's what they use for, and I'm not sure what the cost is, but I know I saw some driveways in Canada. They had two or even 3 of these parked side by side. So I guess they use one. Then if something happens, they can jump in right away into the other one or use it for parts. So very useful machine, very handy when you have to carry out some revenge. And so I used 4 pairs of chains, and of course it's always a good idea to ask where you can put them, because I was not sure. This looks like the part of the hydraulic thing that goes up and down. So I asked the guy, can I put my chain in here, because that's not enough tie downs. And he said, yeah, this is good. This is where we put them. Okay. And then they have some eyes over there, but they're too small, so I had to use my shackles. And the same in the back. And of course these are 1/2 inch chains. So 4 pairs, it's more than enough. And check out the tires on this thing. Tires are tubeless 26.5-25. What is this? Giant Hippo. Giant Hippo. 20 BLY rating. I have no idea what that is, but Galaxy. Galaxy, the Giant Hippo. Okay, what's the, I wonder what the pressure, what pressure? Made in China, okay. I don't see what, how much pressure they put in. Only specially trained persons should mount these tires. Anyway, it's probably not that much pressure because it's a huge tire, so it doesn't have to be like 120 or 140 because there's look at this. See? Huge. Here's my face. Here's the tire. Oh boy. Well, and the Mac is pulling great because here it's the terrain is pretty flat. Well, like there's some hills, but you know, so 116,000 pounds. And I used the middle thing, the level. See over here? So I could have, this is the lowest, but I went this one with this one because to make it a bit taller at the bottom, because it's all legal height. I measured it, so well good. So now I'm at a Flying J here. This is my first stop, except I stopped before to check the chains. And these guys have a Denny's, and diesel here is pretty expensive. I think it's $2.78 or something cash. So I got the cheaper fuel at Petro in Joplin. So heading to Canada with a Bomag RS950 machine. So thanks for watching.